Hello and welcome to Spectrum News at 9. My name is Xavier Robert, coming to you live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom. Let's take a look at the headlines. President Tinubu sacks NAN, MD, MBC, NTA, VON, DGs. Others. Names replacements. Akwa Ibom State Bureau for ICT, Innovation and Emerging Technologies Bill passes second reading at State House of Assembly. Plus, UK Prime Minister Sunak declares support for Israel. Details of these stories and more in a moment. Our first report this evening is from the Akwa Ibom State Legislature, where the House of Assembly has heard a motion on the unwholesome activities of headsmen in Ikadekbana Obodokara communities, thus calling on the executive to enforce the existing anti-grazing law in the state. Ikadekbana Obodokara member Jerry Otu, while moving the motion, observed that headsmen unleash their cattle to destroy produce of citizens in the area, while continuing to pose a serious threat to the peace and tranquility of the community, especially in the farm areas where cattle destroy farmlands and produce, thereby causing untold hardship to the peace-loving people of Ikadewang.
Worried that if the situation is not promptly brought under control, our people will continue to live in fear and also lose an important source of their livelihood, their basically farmers. Conscious of the fact that the principal mandate of the state legislature in making laws for peace, order, good governance, hotels to the protection of lives and property of the citizen, we hereby move as follows. We hereby suggest the following. 1. Urge the state government, urge the state commissioner of police and commissioner for internal security to beef up security in and around Ikotewang and its environment. Not only for the one that affects it, I'm sure people in Oklahoma can testify to that. Worried that
In contributions, Nziribo member Eric Agban and Ibionibo member Moses Asian agree that the activities of headsmen, not just in the communities in focus, but in the state in general, are condemnable.
The issue of security can never be overlooked, because by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the main responsibility of government is to protect the properties and the living standards of our own people in our respective communities. This issue of herdsmen destroying farmland has become a recurrent decimal in every community in Akwa Ibom State.
He made reference to section 30, 31, 38 and 41 of the Open Grazing Prohibition Control and Establishment Branches Act 104, laws of Akwa Ibom State. The law was made by this House Chamber. I think it is imperative on the executive to carry out the implementation of the laws made by the legislature.
In his submission, the Speaker, Udemo Tong, directed the Clerk of the House to write the governor, urging the executive to enforce the existing law regulating open grazing.
The clerk of this house to write to His Excellency the Governor of Akwa Ibom State through the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development as a matter of urgency to enforce the extant provisions of Section 30, 31, 38 to 41 of the Open Grazing Control and Establishment of Ranches Cap 107 Law of Akwa Ibom State. I therefore direct.
Meanwhile, the House also heard a motion on the urgent need to restore electricity line in 9 neighboring villages in Uran local government area after 4 years without power supply. Presenting the motion on the floor of the House, which was seconded by Urafong Oroko State Constituency member Precious Salang, the Uran State Constituency member Dr. Itorobong Etim prayed for the protection of electricity lines in the affected communities.
Further aware that sometime in 2019, the high tension cables linking Nolikomi 4 to Adadia and 8 other villages were mercilessly stolen by vandals, and as such, Adadia and the 8 villages were cut off the power grid. Aware that rural local government areas.
The Speaker, in his submission, called for the Committee on Rural Development to do an on-the-spot assessment and report back to the House in 2 weeks.
Mandate the House Committee on Rural Development, Power, Water and Utility to do on-the-spot assessments and make sure they report to this House in 2 weeks. I think that is the wish of this House.
In the meantime, Akwa Ibom State Bureau for ICT Innovation and Emerging Technologies Bill 2023, sponsored by 18 member Udwa Fort, was today read the second time and committed to the House Committee on Science and Technology for in-depth studies. Fort, while giving the general principles of the bill, said the bill is for the collective good of all and for the betterment of the ICT fortunes of Akwa Ibom citizens.
Capacity building, IT infrastructural development, resource sharing, and coordinate all IT-related functions, conservation of assets of Akwa Ibom states now and for the future.
The Deputy Speaker, Kufre Didam, in support of the bill, commended the bill, saying it will address associated ICT issues in the state. In his submission as well, the Deputy Leader of the House, Otobong Bob, pointed out some of the gains of the barrier if set up.
To regulate the operation of ICT, information technology, in Akwa Ibom. As of today, it's anything goes. There's no law regulating it. And we know most of the money in the world now is virtually offline. And the state is missing a lot because we lack this agency. Once this agency is created, they will regulate and tax the ICT operators, create hubs, and the hubs will also create jobs. So I think it's a very good bill, and I urge all members to rise and support it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I'm speaking today as a youth of Akwa Ibom State, very much interested in Akwa Ibom State youths being 21st century youths, having access to the internet, having access to the World Wide Web, and being able to compete effectively with our colleagues across the globe. And I think this bureau, if set up and this law sees the light of day, it will go a long way in ensuring that Akwa Ibom State people, not just the youths, get to enjoy the benefits of information technology as a whole. this afternoon to substitute.
The Speaker, Udemo Tong, subsequently committed the bill to the House Committee on Science and Technology for in-depth studies.
Speaking against this bill. Honourable members, it has been moved and duly seconded that a bill for a law to establish the Akwa State Bureau for ICT innovations and emerging technologies be read the second time. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The bill is accordingly read the second time and committed to the House Committee on Science and Technology for in-depth studies.
Also up for second reading was Akwa Ibom State Startup Bill 2023, sponsored by Ekpo Fort. In his presentation, the lawmaker pointed out the issues of financing that surround startups in Nigeria's climb compared to other climes, underscoring the importance of the bill as pertinent for honing technological talents in the state. The House was subsequently adjourned to Thursday, 26th October 2023. To the seat of power now, where President Bola Tinubu has sacked the heads of some government agencies under the Ministry of Information. The special advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Ajurin Galale, announced this in a statement. Meanwhile, those appointed are National Orientation Agency Director General and CEO Lanre Isao Nilu, Nigerian Television Authority Director General and CEO Salihu Abdul Hamid, Dembos Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria Director General and CEO Dr. Mohammed Bulama, National Broadcasting Commission Director General, CEO Charles Ebwebu, Voice of Nigeria Director General and CEO Jibrin Baba Ndase, Advertising Regulatory Council of Nigeria Director General and CEO Dr. Lekan Fadulapo, News Agency of Nigeria Managing Director and CEO Ali Muhammad Ali, Nigerian Press Council Executive Secretary CEO Dili Ezuga. According to the statement, the President tasks the newly entrusted leadership in these important subsectors to innovate and create new opportunities for Nigerians to leverage upon through the effective reform of these key institutions of government, which function to unify the people, reshape mindsets, and showcase the great nation to the rest of the world. The statement added that the above listed appointments take immediate effect. Meanwhile, President Tinubu has directed the Federal Ministry of Education to stagger the take-off of some of the federal tertiary institutions established by the previous administration. The Minister of Education, Dr. Maman Taher, who disclosed this to journalists at the State House, Abuja, after meeting with President Tinubu, explained that the decision was based on some considerations, including funding. Taher told journalists at the briefing that he visited the president to update him on developments in his ministry, including issues surrounding a stakeholders conference scheduled for today, appointments of heads of agencies and boards of tertiary institutions. Speaking on the plan for takeoff of the federal institutions established towards the end of the Muhammadu Buhari administration, Taher said there are about 6 specialized institutions which focus on areas like education, agriculture, and medicine. Away from that now, the federal government has pledged to strengthen bilateral relations with the European Union (EU). The Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Atiku Bagudu, said this at the EU-Nigeria Strategic Dialogue meeting in Abuja. Bagudu expressed his enthusiasm that the dialogue happened at the takeoff of the current administration of the country for proper articulation and consolidation of priorities in their partnership. Bagudu said within the framework of the Nigerian National Development Plan (NDP) 2021-2025 and the renewed hope agenda of President Ahmed Tinubu was a commitment to focus investments to propel Nigeria to lasting security, sustainable stability, and shared prosperity. He said that the focused investments were expected to harness the potential of Nigerians for productivity, economic growth, and development. Meanwhile, the federal government has announced that the third mainland bridge will be closed to traffic from Saturday, October 21 through Sunday, October 22, 2023 for repairs. The Federal Controller of Works, Lagos Engineer O.I. Kesha, who made this known in a statement, encouraged motorists to use alternative routes during the period of the palliative works. Reports say motorists had cried out over the deplorable state of some portions of the bridge, which spans over 11.8 kilometers. The bridge reported to be alongside the Eco Bridge and the Carter Bridge connect Victoria Island to the mainland Lagos and has undergone several repairs in recent years. In another development, the Minister of Interior Lubumi Tunji-Ojo has said that over 4,000 inmates held in custodial centers across the country were unable to pay 500 million naira in fines. The minister said he had met with some private organizations to raise the money. Tunji-Ojo assured that in the next 4 weeks, the fines would be cleared and the inmates would be released. He noted that the decongestion of the custodial centers is not the sole responsibility of the ministry, adding that he had discussed with the Attorney General of the Federation, Lateef Fagbemi, to combat the issue of awaiting trial inmates. In the meantime, the Federal Capital Territory Administration (FCTA) has threatened to shut down illegal motor parks operating in the capital city Abuja over rising one-chance robbery in the city. The Minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike, made this known during a chat with journalists in his office in Abuja. Wike, while noting that there have been reported cases of one-chance robbery and kidnapping in Abuja for weeks, said a joint task force on cross-border crimes has been set up to tackle the security menace called one-chance robbery. The former governor of Rivers State also blamed the rising crime in the capital city on illegal motor parks and uncompleted buildings used as dens by criminals. From the Red Chambers now, the Senate President Godswill Akpabio has accused the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) of unprofessionalism, saying the anti-graft agency has engaged more in sensationalizing issues rather than carrying out rigorous investigation. Akpabio stated this during the confirmation of the newly appointed EFCC Chairman Ola Olukoyede and the Commission's Secretary Mohammed Hamajoda during plenary. Akpabio urged Olukoyede to operate differently away from his predecessors, adding that somewhere else people are invited to defend themselves after evidence of crime has been established against them. And while the Senate President Godswill Akpabio has debunked insinuations of a brewing crisis in the upper legislative chamber, insisting that disagreement in the parliament was a normal phenomenon in any democratic setting. The clarification came following a reported shouting match unraveling a crisis between two gladiators, Akpabio and the Senate's Chief Whip Aline Dume, on the floor of the Senate chamber. Speaking with newsmen on the development after the meeting with President Bola Tinubu at the Presidential Villa Abuja, Senator Akpabio said the parliament is populated by only mature minds who are committed to working with the executive to move the country forward. The Senate President noted that he was in the State House to inform the President of the first 10th Assembly retreat, which is currently taking place in Akwa Ibom State, and to solicit his support towards ensuring representation at the retreat. In the meantime, Deputy President of the Senate, Senator Barau Jibrin, has reiterated the commitment of the 10th National Assembly to ensuring strong fiscal policy and tax reforms for the survival of Nigeria as a nation. He stated this during a two-day retreat on fiscal policy and tax reforms organized by the National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies, NILDS, at Ikot-Ekpene, Akwa Ibom State. He said the 10th National Assembly considers the urgent need to put the country on the path of economic rejuvenation, hence the need to put more efforts alongside various stakeholders in achieving that. He emphasized that the lawmakers' job at the retreat is to contribute to the discourse on the needed fiscal policy and tax reforms towards the realization of the 8-point agenda of the executive arm of government. According to him, the specialized retreat organized by NILDS in collaboration with the leadership of the Senate will no doubt equip all members of Nigeria's Senate with cutting-edge knowledge in fiscal policy and tax reform. From the Green Chambers now, where the House of Representatives has unanimously resolved to investigate the challenges hindering the full implementation of the Basic Healthcare Provision Fund (BHCPF) in order to address any bottlenecks that may exist. The decision came as a result of a resolution following a motion on notice presented by Julius Ihovereb and Prince Henry Okoje. Meanwhile, the House called upon the Federal Ministry of Health to kickstart the comprehensive implementation of the Basic Healthcare Provision Fund (BHCPF). It emphasizes the importance of all relevant stakeholders playing their respective roles in ensuring the successful disbursement and utilization of the funds. Presenting the motion before the House, Okoje disclosed that the BHCPF was established by the National Health Act to extend primary health care (PHC) to all Nigerians by substantially increasing the level of financial resources for PHC services. Meanwhile, the House of Representatives has asked all tiers of government to ban a popular children's book, Queen Premier, due to its content. The resolution followed the adoption of a motion moved by Suleiman Gumi on the floor of the House. Moving the motion, Gumi said the book contains words like gay and arrows, which, according to the lawmaker, are words that are introducing gay and lesbians to children. Speaking in support of the motion, Bello El-Rufai said he had to withdraw his children from a popular school in Abuja because of the words. He said that despite living in the United States for years, he was able to remain upright because of his religious background. Consequently, the House resolved to ban the book and other similar books that encourage pervasive culture. The House also resolved that using such books is criminal. Still from the Green Chambers, the House of Representatives has resolved to investigate the adoption of concrete technology for road construction as ordered by the Minister of Works, Dave Umahi. This was sequel to a motion moved by Zainab Buka today. In the motion, Buka said the adoption of concrete technology for roads could have significant cost implications for contractors. She said the minister is pushing for the adoption of the road construction system without adequate study of the comparative implications. The lawmaker expressed concerns that the Minister of Works' new policy on cement concrete pavement adoption without in-depth studies of the comparative advantages and disadvantages with asphalt may contradict technical specifications, potentially leading to contract breaches and potential arbitration and litigations during a challenging economic time. Consequently, the lower chamber mandated its committees on Works, Environment, Finance, and Judiciary to investigate the merits and demerits of using cement concrete for road construction and asphalt and report back within 3 weeks for further legislative action. In the meantime, the Chairman, House of Representatives Committee on University Education, Abubakar Fulata, has called for salary increments for primary, secondary, and university teachers. The chairman said the teachers should earn 250,000 naira, 500,000 naira, and 1 million naira, respectively, as monthly remuneration. Fulata was speaking at a one-day national stakeholders workshop on the development of a roadmap for the Nigerian education sector 2023 to 2027 in Abuja today. He stated that it is important for Nigerian teachers to be encouraged by paying them adequately to teach the children. Also, he stressed the need to translate all subject textbooks into local languages so as to catch up with the world. According to him, efforts have been made by past administrations as regards the country's education, but that those efforts have not yielded the desired results. In a separate development, in the wake of the court orders given by election tribunals, the national chairman of the Inter-Party Advisory Council (IPAC), Yabagi Sani, has stated that Nigerians must hold the judicial system to account in the discharge of its responsibilities. Sani, who made this known during a live broadcast, said the judiciary, which has jurisdiction over disputes in federal government and states, needs to stand up and show that it fully supports democracy. The IPAC chair faulted the Electoral Act 2022, stating that the act has to be free from interference. He added that the nation would be put in confusion and an ambiguous direction if a straightforward law is not given to the electoral umpire. In another development, the Chairman Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) Olanipekun Olukoyede has said that Nigeria lost 2.9 trillion naira to contract and procurement scams between 2018 and 2020. Olukoyede told the Senate shortly before he was glad that a survey he conducted on 50 individuals and corporate bodies revealed the loss. While promising a paradigm shift by his leadership in the fight against corruption, he canvassed a review of the criminal justice system. The chairman said a review of the system would not only reduce the time spent on investigations and trials of suspects, but save the country from spending in that direction. Elsewhere, the Nigerian Correctional Service (NCOs) has dismissed 2 personnel and sanctioned 35 others for misconduct. This was contained in a statement by the Service Public Relations Officer (SPRO) Abubakar Umar. Umar said the dismissal was part of efforts to ensure discipline among personnel and entrench international best practices. He noted that the officers were sanctioned for misconduct ranging from trafficking in contrabands, unauthorized absence from duty, stealing, negligence of duty, criminal conspiracy, as well as aiding and abetting. The SPRO added that the offences constituted threats to security of correctional facilities and could jeopardize public safety and national security. In another development, the Police Service Commission (PSC) today explained the recruitment of repentant thugs as police constables in Kano State. This came amid viral videos showing how some repentant thugs were recruited as part of police constables drafted to fight crime in Kano. The situation drew condemnation from some Nigerians as they faulted the decision. In a statement, PSC spokesman Ike clarified that the repentant criminals were recruited as police constabulary because they had realized that crimes do not pay. He stated that the Commission is in touch with the Kano State Police Command and is aware that the use of the constabulary is to support the police in building a crime-free Kano State. Still to come in the news. Nokia to axe up to 14,000 jobs to cut costs. Do stay with us. Many thanks for staying tuned. We move on now to Africa, where Gabon's military leader, General Brice Nguema, has said that he is giving up his salary as president and will only receive a wage as commander of the Republican Guard. A junta spokesman, Ulrich Manfombi, said General Nguema took the decision because of his awareness of social emergencies and many expectations of the Gabonese people. Manfombi noted that apart from renouncing his salary as president, Nguema also decided to reduce public spending by slashing the allowances for lawmakers, eliminating political funds, and cutting session allowances. Now to Kenya, where President William Ruto has approved controversial legislation that will see the biggest shake-up of the health sector in more than 20 years. His plan revolves around promoting universal health care and requires all workers to contribute 2.75% of their salaries towards a new health fund. The government says it will make health care more affordable and accessible for poorer Kenyans, but it has proved unpopular with many Kenyans who see it as a new tax. They say it is the latest in a series of measures that Ruto has introduced, worsening the cost of living crisis despite the fact that he won elections last year with a promise to ease the financial difficulties of families. Some also fear that the new healthcare fund will be beset by corruption like the existing one, meaning they are often unable to access the health services they are entitled to. Meanwhile, the widow of a prominent Pakistani journalist is suing the Kenyan government for the targeted assassination of her husband. Javaria Siddiqui filed a lawsuit in Nairobi on Wednesday for the wrongful murder of Arshad Sharif. According to reports, the journalist was shot and killed a year ago by officers of Kenya's elite police force, the General Service Unit (GSU). Meanwhile, the officers involved in the incident said it was a case of mistaken identity, but the widow has disputed the GSU's claim. So in Africa, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa and Ukrainian leader Volodymyr Zelensky have confirmed their shared desire for a peaceful resolution to the Russia-Ukraine conflict. In a statement, the South African presidency noted that the two held talks at the request of the Ukrainian president. According to the statement, Ramaphosa also committed his country's commitment to active engagement in the Africa Peace Initiative presented earlier this year by 7 African leaders as a possible basis for peace. He also committed to the participation of South Africa for talks in the peace formula outlined by Ukraine, which is held at the level of national security advisors. Elsewhere, an internal investigation has found that a fire that gutted South Africa's parliament in January 2022 could have been prevented. The findings show that 5 people have been implicated in a series of systems and security failures which preceded the blaze that took 3 days to extinguish. Reports say no parliamentary protection officers were on duty on the night of the fire because it was a public holiday. The probe also found that no one was monitoring security cameras and that the sprinkler system's smoke detectors and a number of CCTV cameras were not working at the time. It was also revealed that the fire-gutted building had not been insured. In the meantime, Turkish company Car Powership has restored power to Guinea-Bissau's capital after shutting off supplies for nearly 2 days. The company had cut off power to Bissau in the early hours of Tuesday over an unpaid bill of at least $15 million, plunging the city into darkness. Car Powership spokesperson told newsmen that the company was able to resume operations after receiving a payment from the government. Energy Minister Yusuf Balde said $6 million of the $15 million bill had been paid. The spokesperson of Car Powership, which has been supplying power to Guinea-Bissau since 2019, said that the decision to temporarily suspend operations was not made easily. So in Africa, the prosecutor at the International Criminal Court (ICC) has dropped all charges against Maxime Macomb, who has been in the court's custody since March last year. He was accused of several crimes, including directing attacks against civilians, murder and rape, while being part of the anti-Balaka militant movement in the Central African Republic between 2013 and 2014. He had denied the charges and said he joined the group for the sake of peace, not war. According to the ICC, the violence by anti-Balaka and rival, mainly Muslim Seleka militia in the Kal left thousands dead and more than 100,000 displaced. ICC prosecutor Karim Khan said that having considered the evidence and regarding the availability of witnesses, he concluded that there are no longer any reasonable prospects of conviction at trial, even if the charges were confirmed. Meanwhile, 9 temporary staff who were helping oversee Liberia's 10th October presidential and parliamentary polls have been arrested for vote tampering and electoral malpractices. National Elections Commission Chairperson Davidetta Brown Lasana told journalists in Monrovia that the temporary staff were arrested in Grand Cape, Mount County and in Montserrado County, but she reassured Liberians that the attempted malpractices were corrected and that they in no way affected the outcome of the elections. On the foreign scene now, British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak promised Israel's Benjamin Netanyahu today that the UK would stand by Israel in its darkest hour, as he welcomed the decision to allow aid into Gaza and said Israel was doing all it could to limit civilian deaths. Sunak's trip came after U.S. President Joe Biden unveiled a deal to allow limited humanitarian aid to enter war-torn Gaza, where 1 million people have fled their homes amid devastating Israeli airstrikes. In a related development, U.S. President Joe Biden has secured a deal with Egypt to deliver limited aid to Gaza to ease a humanitarian crisis amid the Israel-Hamas war. Visiting Tel Aviv, Biden said Israel had a right to hit back for the Hamas attack that triggered the fighting. The U.S. president noted that Israel had been badly victimized but cautioned against being consumed by rage. He also added that a blast at the Gaza hospital was not caused by an Israeli airstrike. Meanwhile, the health ministry in Gaza says at least 3,785 Palestinians have been killed in Gaza since Hamas attacked Israel on October 7. It said among those killed, 1,524 were children, 1,000 were women, and 120 were the elderly, noting that a total of 12,493 have been injured. Still on the foreign scene, China said today it was deeply disappointed by the United States' decision to veto a UN Security Council resolution calling for a humanitarian pause in the Israel-Hamas conflict. For 12 days, Israel has carried out a withering bombardment of the Gaza Strip in retaliation for the killing of 1,400 people who were shot, mutilated or burnt to death in shock cross-border attacks launched by Hamas on October 7. According to health officials, more than 3,470 people have been killed in Gaza as a result of Israeli airstrikes. Meanwhile, Gazans combed through the debris of the devastated hospital, collecting the bodies of the dead in the battered enclave Wednesday, hours after a strike killed hundreds sheltering at the facility. Elsewhere, the EU has announced probes today into Facebook owner Meta and TikTok, seeking more details on the measures they have taken to stop the spread of illegal content and disinformation after the Hamas attack on Israel. The European Commission said it has sent formal requests for information to Meta and TikTok respectively in what is the first procedure launched under the EU's new law on digital content. The EU launched a similar probe into billionaire mogul Elon Musk's social media platform X, formerly Twitter, last week. The Commission said the request to Meta related to the dissemination and amplification of illegal content and disinformation around the Hamas-Israel conflict. In a separate statement, it said it wanted to know more about TikTok's efforts against the spreading of terrorist and violent content and hate speech. Meanwhile, Meta and TikTok have until October 25 to respond with a deadline of November 8 for less urgent aspects of the demand for information. And now it's time for the latest business and stock market stories. Here is Davina Praise Omang.
Thank you, Xavier Roberts. Good evening. It is another business day, and my name is Davina Praise Omang. In the news, Finnish telecoms giant Nokia is to axe between 9,000 and 14,000 jobs by the end of 2026 to cut costs. The announcement was made as the company reported a 20% drop in sales between July and September. The company blamed slowing demand for 5G equipment in markets such as North America. It currently has 86,000 employees around the world and has axed thousands of jobs since 2015. Nokia wants to cut costs between £800 million and £1.2 billion by 2026. In Africa, Mercedes-Benz, the luxury car manufacturer, currently ships 90% of its entire South African production to European markets, which plans to cease the sale of new petrol and diesel vehicles by 2035. For a nation that exports 3/4 of its vehicle production, this development could lead to a decline in the global competitiveness of the country's automotive industry. The co-CEO of Mercedes-Benz local unit, Mark Rain, stressed the need for South Africa to implement rapid regulatory changes that promote the adoption of electric vehicles. Meanwhile, South Africa's policy paper on electric vehicles is currently running 2 years behind schedule. Back home in Nigeria, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, has allayed fears of fuel scarcity due to the emergence of queues in some parts of the country. NNPCL stated this in a statement signed by the company's retail subsidiary Handle. The company attributed the re-emergence of queues in Lagos and some parts of the Federal Capital Territory to reduced depot load out in Apapa, Lagos, in the past few days. Meanwhile, NNPCL explained that the issue has been addressed, noting that it has sufficient petrol for 30 days. The company advised motorists to avoid panic buying as the distribution of the product would normalize in a few days. Nigerian stock market report. At the end of today's trading session on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, the benchmark NGX All-Share Index shared 254.43 basis points, a decline of 0.38% to close at 67,098.8 points. Compared with the previous trading day, today's data shows 25% decline in volume, 5% decline in turnover, and 12% decline in deals. The current capitalization of the Nigerian Stock Exchange is 36.9 trillion naira. 114 listed equities participated in trading, ending with 16 gainers and 25 losers. Learn Africa led the gainers with 10% share price appreciation, closing at 3 naira 30 kobo per share. On the losing side, Mark Nichols came out last with an end-of-day price depreciation of 8.82% at 62 kobo per share. United Bank for Africa recorded the highest volume of 56.3 million traded shares, followed by Fidelity Bank with 33.9 million and Access Holdings with 22.2 million traded shares. This is all on business news, and back to Xavier Roberts for the rest of the news.
Many thanks, Davina. Still to come in the news. Zimbabwe, Nigeria, the clash in Rwanda. Do stay with us. Many thanks for staying tuned. Now in health, the Oyo State government has vowed to deal decisively with individuals who defecate in the open and indiscriminately dump refuse. The State Commissioner for Information and Orientation, Dotun Oyelade, made this known at the two-day media dialogue on open defecation free in the southwest states held in Ibadan. He said the move to penalize open defecators and indiscriminate dumping of refuse was part of efforts aimed at achieving the national target of ending open defecation in Nigeria by 2027. Oyelade, who said the government before 2027 would ensure much improvement in the social menaces and all other diseases plaguing the state, however, appealed to the residents to patronize government-approved West consultants and stop unhygienic practice of open defecation. So in health, the Ogun State government has announced plans to chlorinate wells in some parts of the state following the outbreak of cholera in 3 different local government areas. In a statement signed by the Special Advisor to Governor Dakwa Abiodun on Health, Dr. Tommy Kolka noted that the state government alerted the residents of the state to the outbreak of cholera in the local government. Speaking on the cases recorded, the State Commissioner for Health revealed that a total of 217 cases have been recorded in the Ijebu North local government area, with additional cases surfacing in Abeokuta North and South local government area. Koka, who made this known during a stakeholders meeting in Abeokuta, added that the key to eliminating cholera is adopting a multi-sectoral strategy. Let's head over now to Isaac for latest sports stories.
Well, thank you so much, Xavier. In sports, contrary to the reports emanating from certain sections of the media, the Zimbabwe Football Association (ZIFA) has decided to adopt Kigali Stadium in Rwanda as a home ground for the 2026 World Cup qualifiers. Since the release of the draws, some unconfirmed sources suggested that Zimbabwe will play the home game in South Africa, as the home ground in Harare failed their CAF approval. But the interim committee in charge of football in Zimbabwe has reached an agreement with the Rwandan Football Association to host its home game in the qualifier in Kigali. The football body further confirmed that Zimbabwe will stay in Kigali to face Nigeria Super Eagles in the match day 2 of the qualifiers after they might have played Rwanda in the opening group game. Well, coming back home, the Nigerian Premier Football League match day 4 encounter between holders Eimba and Duma United has been postponed. Duma United was scheduled to host the People's Elephants at the Pantami Stadium on Sunday. The match will now hold at a later date due to Eimba's participation in the inaugural edition of the Africa Football League. Eimba will host Wydad Casablanca of Morocco in the first leg of the quarterfinal clash at the Godswill Akpabio International Stadium on Sunday. Duma United will now shift their attention to the NPFL Matchday 5 encounter against Shooting Stars in Ibadan. The Savannah Tigers held Sporting Lagos to a goalless draw in their last fixture. Well, moving on to Europe, Borussia Dortmund are ready to take Jadon Sancho back from Manchester United in January, according to reports. Although the Bundesliga side have publicly denied interest in signing the former player, it is believed that they would be interested if the financial terms are right. A short-term loan for Sancho until the end of the season is most likely. However, Dortmund will still need to pay part of his £300,000 a week wage. The 23-year-old spent 4 years at the German club between 2017 and 2021 and remains in contact with coach Edin Terzic. United are willing to listen to offers for Sancho in January, with the club prepared to back Erik ten Hag over his strong stance on squad discipline. But that's it on sports. My name is Isaac. Isaac, thank you so much, Xavier. Good evening.
Isaac, now on entertainment news, Big Brother Niger Season 7 winner Josephine Otabo, popularly known as Finna, has raised the alarm that she has been receiving death threats following her social media face-off with singer Davido. Recall that Finna and Davido engaged in an altercation on social media on Wednesday after the singer liked a tweet that slammed the reality star. Finna took to her X page to ask the singer what she had done wrong to deserve the hate. Replying to Finna's tweet, Davido said he did not know who she was and that his reaction was an honest mistake. Davido's reply tore their fans apart, with his fans hailing him for allegedly humiliating clout chasing Finna, according in their words, while her fans berated him for denying the reality star who won the Big Brother Niger reality TV show in 2022. Today, Finna claimed she had received numerous death threats following her social media brawl with Davido. Still entertainment news, Flytime has announced a star-studded lineup for the 2023 Flytime Fest. Ahead of the annual fest, Flytime said the lineup includes celebrated superstars from Nigeria and abroad, including Davido Asake, Keys Daniel, Roddy Rich, Lil Durk, among others. Before the event scheduled for 21 through 25th December at the Accra Convention Center is set to be one of the major highlights of DTH December. And lastly, on entertainment tonight, veteran Nollywood actor Kanayo has blasted Renoir Mokri, a former media aide to ex-President Goodluck Jonathan, for dragging the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, into actor Mr. Ibu's ill health. It would be recalled that veteran comic actor John Okafor, popularly known as Mr. Ibu, on Wednesday took to the internet to seek public assistance as he battles an undisclosed ailment that may cost him his leg. Reacting to the viral video on his X handle, Renoir Mokri called out Peter Obi to pay the medical bills for the ailing actor. He stated that Mr. Ibu had endorsed and campaigned for Obi as his preferred candidate during the 2023 general elections, and as a result, the LP flag bearer must help the actor in his time of need. Reacting to Omokri's post, Kanayo, in a clip shared on his Instagram page today, condemned the former presidential aide, describing him as wicked. Kanayo stated that giving is personal and should not be used to indict others. And that's all we have for you at this time. Do ensure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtvlive.ng. You've been watching Spectrum News at 9. My name is Xavier Robert. So have a good night. Bye for now.